Welcome to Recently Logged, where this week we enter the Florpus.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to the podcast known as Recently Logged.
Where we're talking about the movies, again.
Yes, the human movies.
Why did we pick American movies?
Those filmmakers made by humans. Which I am one.
I don't see where this bit is going.
I was just going to go for the whole intro.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Robbie.
And I'm Micah.
And we're talking about the movies again.
Yeah.
In case it wasn't apparent.
And I mean, you probably couldn't get it from the. I mean, maybe you get it from the intro if you know of the movie, and maybe my little bit if you know of the thing. But this week we're talking about Invader ZIM, Enter the Florpus.
Yeah. It's a movie.
We're
going to talk about it.
We had never watched any Invader ZIM.
Yeah, so. if you can even believe it. We had never seen the show or anything like that. I think it was just a show.
Yeah, we had
long
heard good things about the movie.
Yeah.
And we wanted to turn it on.
And we did.
And we did.
And then we watched it again.
And now we're here in your ears right now.
Indeed we are.
We're live in your ears.
Wow.
Even though we're recording it, we're live.
It's pre-recorded
in your ear.
So it's live now.
We're right now. That's how time works. We're speaking to you in the future.
But anyway, let's tell you what you need to know about Invader ZIM, Enter the Florpus.
Let's do it. All right, Invader ZIM, Enter the Florpus is a TV movie rated TV Y7 fantasy violence.
Best rating, honestly.
Came out in 2019. It is an hour and 11 minutes. Its little IMDb description is, Zim discovers his almighty leaders never had any intentions of coming to Earth, and he loses confidence in himself for the first time in his life, which is the big break for his human nemesis,
Just like
Dib.
me, for real. Dib.
And that doesn't really tell you anything.
It doesn't really tell you anything about the plot, but that's like the beginning of the movie.
Let's see. Oh boy, I should have looked at names before that.
Oh no, Micah, not again.
Its cast features Richard Stephen Horvitz.
Horvitz, yeah. Cool
Rikki
name.
Simmons. Andy Berman.
Wow, these are very easy.
Melissa Fahn. Rodger Bumpass.
Oh yeah.
It is directed by, and I apologize for these name pronunciations beforehand. I am not meaning to mispronounce these if I am. Ha-Young Jung, Young Kuen Park, and what about this one? We've got
oh no.
Jhonen Vasquez.
Yeah, that's probably I don't know. That's
I'm
probably
sorry.
close to correct.
I'm butchering so many names here. Also written by Jhonen Vasquez and Breehn Burns.
Nice.
And Eric Trueheart.
Trueheart. That's a very easy last name compared to
the rest for my
I was
American.
about to say the American brains.
My American brain, my American knowledge of names. But those are all the facts you need to know about you don't need to know anything else. Nobody else did anything with the movie. That's it.
Those are all the people.
That's it.
That's it. No, never look it up.
No, don't look it up. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
You don't want to.
You don't want to do it.
They'd never have done anything else. There's nobody else working on this. Those are the basic facts. So, Robbie, in your opinion,
my opinion,
how good is Invader ZIM, Enter the Florpus? What are your thoughts?
Invader ZIM, Enter the Florpus was a pleasant surprise. I will say, I had heard good things back when it came out in 2019. For those who don't know, you might have mentioned it in the basic facts, but it is a Netflix original film.
Oh, I didn't mention that. But yes.
Netflix produced this. I was a little skeptical of it, obviously, because, Netflix movies, in my experience, most of the time their original stuff hasn't been, mind-blowing, especially when it's kind of like this kind of seemed like a revival of, it's like nostalgia bait, really, is kind of what I saw it as.
Yeah.
Invader Zim, classic cartoon, whatever. I've never seen it.
I don't even know when it was on air.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was a Nickelodeon show, I believe. This is a Nickelodeon movie, so I would assume. Yeah. But anyway, long story short, it's a great movie that unexpectedly kind of blew me away. It has a great mastery of like animated physical comedy. It's really well written, well paced. All of the characters are just a joy to watch. The lighting's great. The art direction's great. It's a very colorful, alive movie.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Also, Invader ZIM it started in 2001.
Okay.
And also has an 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
The show?
Yeah, the show.
Okay. Maybe it's time to watch the show.
I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about the show, too.
All right. If it's anything like the movie, I'm sure I'll probably enjoy it.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's great, yeah.
I agree with all of that. I mean, I was blown away from like the first 5 minutes of the animation.
Right?
Like the animation in this
it's so good.
is gorgeous to look at and really, really funny. Like
it's one of the best looking 2D animated movies I've seen like in recent years.
Yeah,
and that's saying something.
They do so much with such good animated physical comedy. Right. There are so many moments that if it wasn't for the animation, it just wouldn't be as funny. But it's consistently funny.
Right.
It's a really fun, concise story that, it's simple, but it feels simple enough to like really work for this kind of a movie.
Absolutely.
The characters are all like so much fun. Again, the lighting, the animation, just everything that's like good about 2D animation is great in this.
Exactly, yeah. It knows exactly when to like abstract stuff and exactly when not to. It has, whatever the animators did, they had a very concrete understanding of like animated comedy, and I can appreciate that.
So yeah, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
I also gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Now let's talk a little bit further about it. Rebby, do you have any questions to break us in?
I don't know. You'd think after all this time I would have prepared something.
You'd think that. We finished watching the movie like 30 minutes ago.
Okay, here's a question. One that I asked myself after I watched it the first time.
I looked in the mirror and I asked myself this question every morning.
How do you think the lack of knowledge of like Invader ZIM previously, because this is like a legacy sequel kind of thing to the show, how do you think that affects how you view the movie? Because I don't know, it's
very interesting because like with anything like this, it's different. We just watched the Bob's Burgers movie just yesterday,
very first time,
and we had never watched Bob's Burgers.
Never
so
seen the show.
It's kind of a similar thing, even though again this is more of like a legacy sequel kind of thing because it came so like farther after it.
Yeah.
Whereas Bob's Burgers is still running.
Yeah, it's still on the air. So.
But like it definitely is interesting coming from something like this because they knew that not all of the audience for this movie was inherently going to know everything about the show.
Yeah, it's a Netflix original movie. A lot of like 5-year-olds on their iPads are going to watch this.
It never relies too much on previous knowledge, and it does actually a really good job in the beginning, especially on setting up just concisely everything you need to know about all of the characters and all of the dynamics.
Yeah,
which is really cool because again, like Invader Zim's entire shtick is he thinks he's amazing always and never is. And like Dib thinks he's an awesome action hero and never is.
Exactly.
But like it plays so quickly, and I think that's kind of like the writing that's really impressive with this movie is everything is so concise and so kind of neatly well done on a small scale. Absolutely. That you like automatically know exactly who Dib is. You automatically know exactly what kind of character Zim is, what he wants, like who all of these characters are and their dynamics within like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
I was about to say the anime intro is really a clever way to do that. Like open the movie and establish all of the like rules of the universe and character dynamics and everything. It was a good decision. Yeah, so it's a really good screenplay.
So I was going to say, well, I think this movie would probably be very interesting if I had been like a longtime fan of the show, because I'm sure it's like with the way it treats everything, I'm sure it's not like super in your face, but it's more like, oh, look at all this stuff. It's all the Invader ZIM stuff, if you know Invader ZIM. And if not, it's like, oh, wow, look at all this stuff. This is cool.
Yeah, it's cool or funny or whatever. You know, it's a very engaging movie, and I can appreciate that.
The only moment, because see here in Bob's Burgers, there are several moments where they reference something specific about previous stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the only moment that I can think of where that like obviously happens in this is the ship.
Yeah, the spaceship.
Because it's about a
everything.
character that we have never seen or know anything about. It's that character's spaceship.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, at least I do agree that, like, yeah, that's like the only thing. But even then, they set it up earlier in the screenplay.
Right.
And
So
everything.
it's not like it's just a spaceship out of nowhere. They literally set up the fact that it's from his previous adventures with Zim.
Exactly. I don't know. I don't know why they made such an impeccably written screenplay for the Invader ZIM Netflix original movie.
Well, it's really cool because you mentioned. Not in this, but like you, I don't think anyway. It was during the podcast. I can't remember if it's in between segments or not. But you mentioned Shrek 2. Shrek 2, which is another very, very good animated comedy. We've actually talked about it on here before.
On it.
And Shrek 2 is kind of. It has very similar comedic vibes in the fact that Shrek 2 is never really... Now, granted, Shrek 2 is a lot more complicated of a script than this.
Yeah, it is.
But it's never really, like, at any given moment, any given scene, doing any more than exactly what it's presenting in that scene.
Yeah.
Which allows it to have a ton of really funny, constant jokes tacked on.
I was about to say, there's just like a constant stream of jokes in every scene of Shrek 2. And
so I think this kind of writing is very like important for a comedy to be this funny if it's this kind of a comedy.
Yeah.
Because you can't have too much going on to just have this kind of joke.
I was about to say I tried to keep track of it this past time. I think they try and throw in at least one physical joke every other shot at the very least, and it works.
And it works really like consistently. You're just like,
exactly. I was about to say Zim will make a goofy face, and I'll be like, that's so goofy. I love it.
No, it's a really kind of like a testament to the animation and to the writing like combined for this movie. It's very impressive.
I feel so bad for Netflix's animation department. They're able to produce something this good, Micah.
Dude, see, and I was gonna say this when you were mentioning Netflix original movies before. I was like, the one exception to that I think is like Netflix 2D animation.
What do you mean?
Like their 2D
like the quality of Netflix movies? Yeah.
See, their 3D animation is usually just like trash 3D.
Yeah, just like
produced
cheap.
for kids.
Yeah.
It's just cheap. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But they've produced, because they have a lot of, they had a lot of really good animators.
Talented 2D animators.
Really talented writers and animators. And like they've produced some really impressive stuff in
absolutely.
the 2D department.
Yeah.
Even something like the Cuphead show, its animation is beautiful.
The Cuphead show rocks.
So like, I don't know. Makes me sad. Why Netflix?
Why would you do this to us?
Because Squid Games 2 and real life Squid Games competition must happen.
I was about to say, Micah, you walk up to the Netflix animation department, they're lying on the ground. You're like, Netflix, what happened? Squid Game.
And it would be true, and it would be accurate. That's actually what happened. So
it's pretty good.
Thanks, Netflix.
Man.
But yeah, what do you think of the ensemble cast?
Honestly, there's so many good vocal deliveries here, like just so many, and they're all like just like pitch perfect. They all mesh together really well.
Well, I was thinking about it too. Like, there's not really like a huge ensemble cast.
It's only like 4 or 5 people, I think, for most of the movie.
Because you have the family, that's 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
Zim, his part. What's the robot's name?
I don't remember actually.
Minnie Moose, if you count Minnie Moose, which you can't really count Minnie Moose. The clone of the dad.
Yeah.
And that's like it.
Yeah, that's it.
It's the extent. Oh, and the tallest.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to count like the tallest, so there's the spaceship too.
That's like 8 people. Right?
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's impressive to me. I mentioned how great the characters and like character dynamics were when I first talked about this.
Yeah.
And I really think that's like a testament, because there's not very many characters.
No, there's really
but it's
not.
never boring, and it's like always funny. They nailed down the comedic dynamics that really work, and they focus on them and just filter most of their jokes through those.
No, because I was going to say, and I said this to you while we were watching it, I was like, it's very impressive, because even in animated shows, you very rarely see them just like nail every dynamic of like a family dynamic of characters that are all like funny and have very, very distinct characters.
Yeah.
Again, for like another example, like The Simpsons is one of the few examples I can think of just all of the family dynamics just working extremely well for comedy.
Yeah.
Even something like Family Guy does not do that.
No,
very
not
consistently.
As well. No. But yeah, no, The Simpsons rocks at that, and that's very much in line with something like this. And I mean, The Simpsons does a lot of similar things where they can just do like a funny animated like gag, and I'll be like, yeah, that rocks.
But honestly, I love how much more like extreme and exaggerated everything is in this, even compared to something pretty over the top like The Simpsons. This thing is like, this thing is going at 100 miles per hour in terms of just making all of their bits, performances, and animation to the extreme.
Dude, the cinematographer and the animators knew what they were doing. Every shot works. Like the perspective works.
I was about to say, there's so much fun stuff with perspective in here.
Yeah.
Like even that shot when Gaz is walking up the stairs in the hazmat suit, like at the very beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, why does this shot look so sick? And what is going on?
Dude, when Berman, when they do the close-up shot with the tiny hand reaching up, it's so funny.
Speaking of it, what is your favorite what's your favorite character? I'm curious.
Favorite character? I mean, I have to go with Zim, right?
See, I wasn't gonna go with Zim.
All of my favorite jokes mostly are through Zim.
Zim is hilarious.
He's so funny.
Zim is really fun. Though I have to say, I've seen some other clips and stuff from Zim, and like, it's not that Zim isn't funny in this; he's hilarious in this. But I kind of want like more Zim. I want more narcissistic Zim. He's not hitting. He's not hitting like most powerful Zim moments that I have seen.
You want like epic Zim is what you want, more of that.
Completely disillusioned Zim. But no, Zim is great. I think honestly my favorite character, weirdly enough, is like Gaz. She's so funny.
She is really funny here.
So funny, and like the performance is great, and that's just like, I don't know, a character like that usually does not work for me.
Right?
In something like this, and yet she's consistently really great. Same with the dad. I thought the dad would be so annoying because they present him.
The dad to be so annoying.
They present him as somebody who's again like gaslighting the son, which I hate stuff like that. But they play it off like really well and in a funny way.
They don't dedicate too much time.
No,
to it.
They never dedicate too much time to it. It's not like an annoying thing.
Those kind of things annoying.
And like he's a good dad, regardless of the fact that he doesn't believe that there are aliens and stuff. Like the moment with like the whole like I'm always proud of you thing. Like they do enough dedication to him that shows that he is actually like a good dad who cares about his son. He just goofily does not believe in aliens.
So quirky, Micah.
Well, it plays that more as a joke on his part, not as a drama beat.
Exactly. Yeah. No. And it does a good job of selecting whether something should be a dramatic beat or a comedic beat, and most of the time I think it nails it pretty well.
Yeah. I don't know, like
good animated comedy.
And dude, like the dad physical comedy is so good every time.
It's really funny, yeah.
I hired none of you, and he just he blasts like the biggest beam in the world.
If they would have had the #1 fan favorite movie moment in the Oscars back then, that should have been it.
Speaking of which, and I'm hesitant to ask this question because I know it's like, you know what question I'm talking about, but it's kind of even more so than normal, and we almost always say
we're always like, it's a good movie.
This is a hard movie to do this with, but this even more so, I think, because of its like very short runtime.
Yeah, it's very brief,
and the fact that it's like very much like an animated comedy where it's just constantly doing jokes. It's a hard question to ask.
Yeah.
But what is your favorite scene or sequence?
I mean, honestly. It's so tough, you know,
because there's consistently really good jokes.
It's consistently really, really funny. I might go with the Zim stuff right after the invasion happens. That's really good. That entire sequence with the throne and everything, and Minnie Moose stuff. It's all very funny. I like it a lot.
See, I think one of my favorite moments is just throughout the opening. I think mainly because I think that's when the animation looks like just mind-bogglingly good. I love everything.
Why did they make it?
Animation.
They didn't have to make it look so good. Why did they make it look so good?
All the work with silhouettes and perspective and like the over-dramatic stuff that goes on. And
I mean, obviously that's like probably technically the best part of the movie.
It's so good. Like, dude, when we first turned this on, not this last time, but the first time we turned it on, it started going this hard with its animation, and I was like, what is happening? What is going on?
But yeah, no, it's crazy good.
But yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. Obviously, the stuff with the throne is really fun. I really like a lot of the finale stuff in terms of like the ham and the dad and like it's just fun. Like,
dude,
everything
the ham
about
physics are so funny.
Remember this? Like, dude, they just knew what they were doing so well with this movie.
Yeah, it's a group of animators who just knew how to make like a funny movie, you know?
Yeah, see, and I gave it a 4.5 because solely because it just still fully hasn't like hit that moment. And I've talked about this before, and I don't think my rating system is like definitive rating. I agree with the fact that all rating is extremely objective.
Oh, it's extremely arbitrary,
and I think that's the way. I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah,
I think that's good. And the way I usually end up doing like my 4.5s to 5 is like my 5 stars just have this certain quality that when I finish the movie, I'm like, yeah, that's a 5-star movie.
That's a 5, baby.
And while this movie is absolutely fantastic, it just didn't have my personal quality of like, yeah, I'm gonna give that 5 stars.
Yeah,
because on paper this thing works like a miracle. This thing is concise, it's beautiful, it's hilarious. I can't think of like a single joke that misses.
Right.
The plot is fun. Like nothing about it is bad.
No.
But it's not quite like a 5 for me.
I don't know. It just it's not pushing its limits.
Yeah,
as much as I wish it was.
I think that's actually a decent criticism about it, because there is something that, while it's really fantastic,
it plays really well in the field it sets up.
I do think it honestly could have gone more.
It could have gone further.
It could have been bigger. It could have been funnier. It could have just been more extreme. Which, again, like I said, I've seen some clips of the show of just Zim specifically, and like, I don't know. It's not that Zim wasn't really great in this again. It's just like he's not as like completely, utterly like out there disillusioned, going full like funny, like, because there was this line, it was like he was communicating with the tallest, I'm pretty sure, in the line that I saw, and they were like telling him how he lost the war and like burned down the entire fleet or something, and he was like, burned down or helped. and it's just like, he's really, really funny in what I've seen in the show. So I almost wish that they went even more over the top with him, because he's just about like on par, or just like, you know, just like there. He's exactly what I expected from Zim, and that's really great.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I don't know. I mentioned that it doesn't go as far as it possibly could, and that's a really tall order from a movie like this. But, like, honestly, it's not that big of a deal for me.
And comparing it again to something that we mentioned earlier, like Shrek 2, I do think Shrek 2 is almost like pushing its limits to the extreme.
Oh, it is.
I give that 5 stars, and I think Shrek 2, like, if it did any more, it might burst and break into being like the worst movie you've ever seen.
I was about to say, it's a very ambitious storyline and everything. There's a lot going on.
But Shrek 2 works so it's a miracle, and it's a miracle to hit something like that with a comedy like this. I think there are very few very like tight, simple, small animated comedies that pull this off very well. We were actually talking about one earlier. I think Emperor's New Groove is a very similar kind of just extremely tight, extremely small comedy. I
think Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is a really good modern example of that. It does a lot of the same things well as this does, you know?
Man, the physical comedy in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. That's one of the few movies that's 3D animated and pulls off physical comedy consistently extremely well.
Right. It's kind of similar to Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah.
That movie rocks.
Yeah, I wonder who's behind the animation for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, because like,
I don't know.
I forgot how to pronounce his first name.
Who, Gendy?
Gendy, probably.
I don't remember.
Gendy Tarkovsky I mean, he has the background to why his animated, like his 3D animation movies still have really good 2D feeling comedy, because he has that 2D animation background.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't really know, like, I don't know who is behind the animation department for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I've never looked up the animation department for Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, who it is. But no, that is a good example. And man, animated comedies are really just like the coolest. I think it's one of the best uses of animation. And I know a lot of people are like, silly kids movies.
Those silly kids movies.
But no, you're wrong. You're stupid. Because these movies are amazing, and it's one of the best uses of just how extreme animation can get. It plays, especially this movie, plays with animation to its fullest to just be consistently funny, like just visually all the time. Yeah. So like even when there's not even a joke hitting, like it's just funny.
I was about to say, when there's not a joke like inherent in the screenplay, you can just make a visual joke that's even funnier, you know?
Like it's so cool. It's so much fun. I don't know. Do you have another question?
Not particularly, but I did want to point out how hilarious the head size on TV gag is. They didn't have to do it, but they did it.
Dim's head, man.
Man.
There are so many good, like, just one-off bits like that, man. It's so great.
Shout out to the ham gag, too.
The ham gag is great. It's, like, out of nowhere, and it's just, like, it's just there, and it's just good.
Seems like something I would do.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, this is another movie that I feel like there's not too much to talk about. Even more so than most of the movies that we say that for, because we say that pretty consistently.
Yeah, whenever we talk about a good movie.
Yeah, whenever we talk about a good movie, because it's a little bit more difficult to deep dive in the way we normally talk about movies.
I'm not nearly knowledgeable enough to talk intelligently about the good stuff here. I usually just pick out the bad stuff.
So like with a movie like this, especially like this, it's like 70 something minutes.
Yeah.
It's super simple, super concise, and what works really, really well.
It's masterful, man. It's good stuff.
It's great. I can't recommend it enough. Go check out Invader ZIM.
Yeah, I was about to say, whether you like Invader ZIM or not, you know, I would definitely recommend this.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions or anything to kind of any last thoughts?
I don't know. We already asked what our favorite character was. I was going to mention that, but yeah, I don't know. I guess general thoughts on the cinematography and everything. Like, we mentioned how great it is, but any particular aspect of it you want to highlight?
I love it. Again, I love its use of framing and lighting. I think it uses it almost always to really dramatic and funny effect.
I was going to mention how great the lighting was.
From like the flaming peanuts bit to like the silhouette dib from the beginning. I love silhouette dib.
It's so funny.
That's such a good bit. Like the lighting is consistently one of the coolest things going on.
Yeah.
And pairing that with, again, the cinematography, which is going absolutely bonkers with perspective.
It has such a master hold on how to use its visuals for comedic timing and stuff like that. It's so good.
Oh, and I do want to harp on this again, because it's absolutely fantastic. The vocal performances. I know we mentioned that briefly, but like every vocal performance out of this is going like insanely hard.
It's so
there
good.
are so many great like specific line performances from every character.
Right.
Like the dad even has like these super out of like the not scientifically possible. That is one of the funniest jokes in the entire thing.
So funny.
He zips across the entire arena, and like it's so good. And that's just every character. That's every performance, and all of them blend together again, like you said, on a sound level.
It's a great ensemble.
Very well. All of their performances are the same kind of goofy.
That's the sign of a well-directed animated movie. If you get the vocal performances blending like that, that's good direction right there.
and like ZIM alone as a character, his voice and his character, his vocal performance as a character is so good and so well defined that like seeing just the movie twice, I could already do like a pretty darn good parody of ZIM, because that's just how like well defined and good and iconic his performance and character is.
Yeah. Man. We need to watch the show. It's really the lesson here.
It's on Paramount Plus, Robbie.
Oh no. Oh no.
The worst of the streaming services, right next to Peacock.
I was about to say, I don't know if it's worse than Peacock, but it is pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Peacock and it are like the bottom tier.
At least Peacock has Columbo, you know.
That's true. Peacock has Columbo, but Paramount has the Scream movies.
Okay, it balances. As long as they have one good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, there's not really anything else I wanted to mention other than, you know, go watch the movie.
Yeah,
know?
I mean, I don't want to be like super short or anything, but I mean, I feel like there's not too much else to talk about because what are the elements of this movie? It's screenplay, which we've talked about.
Great.
It's absolutely fantastic. It's super concise. It's simple. It's well-rounded.
Very engaging.
It hits all of its beats. It keeps it like it switches up a lot. It never gives too much time to like being like, oh, now we're going to do this. Now our heroes are in trouble. Oh no, it just goes. It goes and goes and goes, and that's so good for this movie. We got the performances, outstanding. The animation, cinematography, animated lighting, all of it is fantastic.
Right.
The comedy is consistently amazing, always funny. Again, I like even in something like The Simpsons or not so much Shrek 2. I can't think of a joke that really misses in Shrek 2. But like, I can't think of a single dud joke in this movie.
Yeah. No, they're all. It's so good.
So I just like My goodness, I don't know what more to say.
Exactly.
It's fantastic. I could harp on like different bits, like the bit when they rip open the wall and the stupid neighbors are there, or the little robot. I forget his name, but like he's hilarious. I love his vocal performance consistently, and he's just so much fun to watch. Right. The little Phase 2 montage.
The Phase 2 montage is really good.
The little puppy clown figure, like
oh my gosh, I forgot about the puppy clown figurine. That's like one of the funniest shots in the movie.
Minnie Moose's character design alone is enough to get me to love this.
Dude, anime opening Minnie Moose.
Anime opening.
Pretty funny.
Minnie Moose is so buff.
He's so buff.
Dude, there's a sequence where they do the whole, and by the way, every good animated movie does this. They do the whole switching animation styles.
Switching animation.
We have a claymation. We have a dog.
Live action dog.
We have the one of my favorite things. They had the storyboards. Yeah. I love storyboards and layouts as like the animation. They do it all in this movie, and they do it in like 71 minutes.
It's so good, man. It's everything I could want out of an animated comedy.
So yeah,
I love it, man.
Shout out to Invader ZIM Enter the Florpus.
One of the biggest surprises I've gotten out of a Netflix original.
See, I wasn't surprised. Again, I had heard really great things.
I had heard great things, but I don't know. I curbed my enthusiasm about this movie.
He curbed his enthusiasm.
And I was like, you know what? I don't want to get my hopes up. I've never seen the show. I'm not going to get too excited for the movie because I didn't know anything about Invader ZIM at all. Like I didn't even know the basic premise of it. But yeah, no, it was amazing. I loved it. Good stuff. Wow. But yeah, 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Go check it out, man. If you have Netflix,
if you got a Netflix subscription,
you have no reason not to watch this. It's 71 minutes. Turn it on sometime.
Exactly.
That's like 2 episodes of a television show, or like 1 episode and 20 minutes of a television show, depending on your television shows. You can do it.
There you go. If you can sit through 1 episode of Stranger Things in the new season, you can watch this movie.
Yes. Now go watch this movie. Do it. All right. Let's get into the next
other
segment.
stuff.
The other stuff. What we watched. The creme de la creme.
The creme de la creme.
The piece de resistance. All right, so for those of you who do not know or are new to the podcast or have never listened this far before, because this is a shorter episode.
It is a shorter episode.
The What We Watched segment is just a brief little thing on the end where we go over all the other movies we've watched since our last episode. We give our rating, a couple brief little thoughts. It's not too fancy, not too long. We just like talking about movies.
We like the movies.
So we're starting on the 18th. after we watched Legend, which we did the episode on immediately after we watched it. You can go check that out.
Indeed.
And yeah, we're picking up. I watched some stuff on the 18th.
Wow.
So,
Okay. I only watched one thing on the 18th. So.
Also on the 18th, I watched Scooby-Doo and the Monster of Mexico.
Monster of Mexico.
Monster of Mexico.
Was it the Chupacabra?
It was the Chupacabra.
Oh.
But
I didn't expect that to be right.
That actually plays into one of my criticisms of the movie. This movie is not that great. I really wish the Scooby-Doo gang would stop doing mysteries in other countries. And I know that sounds terrible, but the writing team consistently does not do so great with the other countries.
They do not know what to do.
Because this is like the least Mexican movie set in Mexico like ever. Like other American movies set in Mexico, you may think, oh, this is very non-Mexican. This is the most not Mexican movie, like set in Mexico movie ever. And it feels like they're actively making fun of like different Mexican things at points.
Oh no.
Like with Day of the Dead, they're like, it's just like Halloween, but like weird.
Oh no.
And like
oh no.
And like with the Chupacabra, they never call him Chupacabra. Because
really?
They're like Velma at one point it's like Mexico's Bigfoot.
Oh my gosh.
And then they just consistently call him like Bigfoot. And they're like no, that's not what the Chupacabra is.
Oh my god.
So it's just stuff like that. This one isn't like egregiously awful and like in your face like Samurai Sword is, but it's still not great. And I don't like it.
Not ideal.
And it's also all about tourism. And all about how like this one guy like really wants Mexico to only be tourists. Like one of the main like from Mexico guys is like, we need the tourists.
Wow.
So it's weird.
Weird movie.
I gave it a 2.5. It's not my thing. Not great. I've been watching through all the Scooby-Doo movies, if you didn't know. Indeed. So it was a necessary watch to get through everything.
A necessary evil.
But also on the 18th, I watched Scooby-Doo and the Legend of the Vampire, which for the longest time I thought was the same thing as the music of the vampire.
Very different.
Which I have seen. And what's interesting about the Legend of the Vampire is it's about a music competition.
Ironic.
But yeah, Scooby-Doo and the Legend of the Vampire set in Australia at a music competition in the middle of the outback. It sounds completely unhinged, and it kind of is, but it's pretty darn fun. Cool. It's not the greatest thing in the world. The Hex Girls come back, and they're like the coolest thing that have ever happened to the series. Unfortunately, they're really underused in this movie. Go check out The Witch's Ghost instead.
I will have to.
But still very fun. I give it a 3 out of 5.
Nice.
Then on the 18th,
on the 18th, a quick shout out. I watched Hannibal Buress's stand-up special, Animal Furnace, and it was pretty good. I had listened to it like 2 or 3 times before, and the joke's still funny. Who'd have thought it? Oddly, like, weird note, each like bit was segmented, like they would fade to black, or actually it would cut to black for like 3 seconds, and then it would cut back in to the next segment. I'm like, what's going on here? But yeah, it was still funny. I liked it. I gave it a 3.5.
Gave it a 3.5.
If you can even believe it.
Then on the 19th, I rewatched Blood Simple and watched it with Robbie.
Very first time.
My first time he had seen it.
I do love me a Coen Brothers movie.
Coen Brothers' first movie.
Yeah. Their debut, baby.
I really love it. It's a very, very much my kind of a movie.
Yeah, it is.
Looks great. It looks so good. The lighting is fantastic. The performances are really fun. The script is good. I talked about it last time. It's just a really good movie.
I mean, I would tend to agree. It's pretty much just proto No Country for Old Men, which is one of the greatest movies of like the century, probably.
Dude, it really is. Like, it even opens up with like the panning shots of like the countryside while guy narrates about like being old and in Texas or something.
But yeah, no, it's like proto No Country for Old Men, and that means it absolutely balls, you know. It's great movie.
Robbie's like, Blood Simple will never be balling.
Never be balling. It's funny. But yeah, lighting, fantastic, good performances, great control of tone, pacing, everything. It's the Coen Brothers are really good filmmakers. It's my hot take.
They're great. I gave it a 4.5.
I also gave it a 4.5.
Then on the 20th,
on the 19th,
on the 19th,
I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer for the very first time.
Now he knows what I did last summer.
Now I know what they did last summer.
Scary.
They killed a man in cold blood. But yeah, it was a good movie, you know? Great ensemble cast, really solid horror direction. I liked it. I don't know why it had such a kind of lukewarm-ish reception. And it still has, for some reason. I don't know. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was fun.
Cool. Then on the 20th, I watched Wes Craven's Presents They.
They, baby.
Which I have no reason why I can't find any reason why Wes Craven's name is attached to this, since I can find him nowhere in any credits for the movie.
Maybe he, financed it but didn't want to be credited as a producer, maybe?
But I can imagine why he wouldn't want to be involved. Because it's terrible.
Ouch.
It's really, really boring. Very forgettable. I honestly kind of forget what it's even about. I'm trying to read the description.
Oh no! You can't forget the plot of a movie that quickly.
Your child, student of psychology. Oh yeah, this is the weird alien one.
What?
Yeah, absolutely whacked out stuff.
It's an alien movie?
It's really not that great. The nothing about it is interesting. The performances are actively bad most of the time. Like, this is just not, it's not the move. It's I already forgot what it's about. But it did allow me to make the joke with they/them coming out. I had to watch the first one.
I'm looking forward to they/them.
I gave it 2 stars.
Nice.
On the 21st, I watched The Conjuring for the first time. The
Conjuring?
James Wan.
James Wan,
Shout
baby.
Out to James Wan.
Friend of the podcast.
Patrick Wilson. Weird movie.
I've never seen it.
It's honestly, though, the best kind of this kind of horror movie that I've seen. Have not seen too many of these kind of horror movies. I really want to see something like Poltergeist and stuff like that.
I can't wait to see Poltergeist, man.
But most of the movies that I've seen like this have been really, really awful. This was pretty darn good, but it's still not really my scene. I just am not a big fan of this kind of supernatural horror. It doesn't really tickle my fancy.
The Conjuring does not tickle Micah's fancy, apparently.
It's not that scary to me, you know? I was talking with Haley about this, and she was like, how is it not scary? And I'm like, dude, like, what's happened? Like, nobody dies. Nothing happens. Just like, ooh, spooky ghost demons.
Nice.
Who cares? I mean,
dang, bro.
It's still really good. Again, like, this is probably the most energetic and alive feeling I've ever seen with one of these movies. It felt like the filmmakers and writers and actors actually cared about what was going on.
Yay.
Which is rare for these kind of movies. So I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Nice.
Then on the 22nd, what did we tune into, Rabbi?
We watched the Care Bears movie for the very first time.
So yeah,
you can even believe it.
This was prompted by a phone call I had with my girlfriend, in which she was trying to explain Care Bear lore because I had no idea what the heck she was talking about when she said tummy powers.
The Care Bear stare, Micah.
And then my mom was like, "What? You've never seen Care Bears?" And I'm like, "Mom, you're the one who would have showed me Care Bear."
I was about to say, we are out of the age range that we would just like automatically discover Care Bears.
So she turned on the 1985 Care Bear movie.
Yes.
And we watched it.
It
was fun.
It was fun.
I enjoyed it.
It's Dragon Ball Z, but with teddy bears.
It really is. Like, it's like kid Dragon Ball Z with teddy bears.
That's basically all it is.
The animation looks so similar to Dragon Ball Z, and so many of like the weird moments and stuff like that. Like all the Care Bear powers seem like such Dragon Ball things. And like you could make Dragon Ball Z part of this universe without even trying hard.
Yeah. Good movie. I liked it. I gave it a 3.5.
I also gave it a 3.5.
Whoa.
The animation is very nice.
Yeah. A pleasant film.
Then on the 22nd, yes?
Yeah, I was about to say, I watched a bunch of things on the 22nd.
I was about to say, you watched something in between this.
I watched for the very first time on the 22nd, Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel. You might have heard of it.
No, nobody's ever heard of it. Very, very lost, hidden movie.
Hidden gem, Grand Budapest Hotel. You might have heard of it before. Yeah, very good. This marks my halfway point of me getting through all of Wes Anderson's feature films, and I very much enjoyed it. It's such a cool little movie. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of The French Dispatch in the way it kind of feels like an ode to something rather than just like a straight up movie, which I think all of the best Wes Anderson movies are like love letters to very specific things, you know, which I mean, Isle of Dogs is that way too. But yeah, Grand Budapest Hotel, loved the sets, loved the production design, I love the scale models, the matte paintings, the performances, the direction, the screenplay. It's all good. It's a great movie. Not my favorite Wes Anderson movie, but close. It's up there. I gave it a 5 out of 5. Loved it.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought it?
And then also on the 22nd, we headed out to our local dinner theater that is not local or our nearest dinner theater. And
we went to a dinner theater
and watched Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
Heck yeah, baby!
I was very curious about this.
Yeah.
It looked very interesting from the trailers.
Yes,
and
indeed.
I'd heard great things about it.
Yeah.
So I was very excited to tune in to Marcel the Shell. And it kind of blew me away. This was the real surprise, Rip. You were like, "Oh, Invader Zim, what a surprise!"
What a
that was not a surprise. This was the surprise.
You were not expecting Marcel to be a stone cold masterpiece.
I was not expecting Marcel to be a stone cold masterpiece, but it very much is. Again, this is very much a me kind of a movie.
No, it is.
So I kind of loved it. I laughed. I cried.
A really impressive production, honestly.
Dude, it looks so
stop
good.
motion
The
documentary kind of thing.
Insane.
That's crazy, man.
Its world building is really, really great. It never like, it's very slow and contemplative, but it never drops off from being like interesting. It's always exploring some new element. It's always adding on to its themes in a really unique and fun and sweet way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just so good. Go watch Marcel the Shell.
Go watch Marcel the Shell. I can't recommend it enough, man.
Like, seriously, guys. This is when you can take your kids to it.
Take your kids to it. I'm not taking my kids to it.
I don't know why.
I don't have kids. That's why. But if you have children, go watch Marcel the Shell.
Go watch Marcel the Shell with shoes on. Nathan Fielder makes a cameo.
Nathan Fielder's cameo in this is so good.
Like, genuinely, I loved the ending of this movie so much.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sets an unreasonably high standard for, quote, kids movies,
I gave it a 5 out of 5.
I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Then on
Great
the
stuff, man.
23rd.
The 23rd, baby.
Robbie, you got a lot of movies.
I watched a lot of movies, man. I watched Twister for the very first time on the 23rd, which, big motivator for watching Twister. In the movie Greener Grass, during one of the scenes, they turn on Twister. And I was like, oh, well, I can't watch Greener Grass without the full context of Twister. So now that I've seen Twister, I can watch Greener Grass again, is really the takeaway. But yeah, Twister, it's really cheesy. It's fun. It feels like oddly iconic. I don't know why. Like, it feels like Universal should have a ride with Twister, and they did for a while, so I guess it makes sense. But yeah, cool movie. I liked the CGI floating cows. I liked Philip Seymour Hoffman. It was fun. I liked it. Nice. I gave it a 4 out of 5. And also on the 23rd, I watched Zombieland for the very first time. Zombieland. Late 2000s comedy starring Jesse Eisenberg. It's exactly what I expected. Actually, a little better than what I expected. But, I haven't been a big fan of Jesse Eisenberg in the past. Like, I don't know. He's like funny.
He gets bad roles. That's all.
He gets really bad roles.
he's gotten so many bad roles, but I love Jesse Eisenberg.
But yeah, no, he's really funny in this. It's a really good ensemble. I wish the character writing had a bit more depth to it, but that's honestly my biggest complaint with this movie. It's so much fun. There's a lot of really fun concepts. It builds its stakes really well. It's just a really good comedy. It's been a while since I'd seen like a good 2000s comedy, and this is one of them. I liked it.
Actually, it hadn't been that long.
Well,
because you just watched The Other Woman or whatever.
Oh yeah, The Other One. That was really good. Yeah,
really good 2000s comedy.
But yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5. Fun movie.
Nice.
Liked it a lot.
Then on the 23rd, together again, we watched MI3, and by the way, the 23rd was Philip Seymour Hoffman's birthday.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we wanted to watch some Philip Seymour Hoffman movies,
some Hoffman films.
And guess what? He's probably the greatest Mission Impossible villain out there.
Yeah, he is. There's not much competition.
I was about to say the biggest competition is Fallout, and even then, Philip Seymour Hoffman has such good presence.
Oh my goodness,
he's just.
He's one of the best actors like I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of movies now.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is insane.
But yeah, Mission Impossible 3. We did a whole episode on it.
Yeah.
If anything, it has gotten better in my eyes since then. So.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It looks great. I wish the Mission Impossible movies still looked like this.
Right. Dude. It's a blockbuster with a bunch of color that doesn't look like actual garbage.
It's not my favorite Mission Impossible movie. A lot of the set pieces actually don't really work that well for me. I'm not super consistently engaged in its action.
I like it a lot. I'm a lot more engaged than you are, I think.
But I think the story is really fun. I think the framing of the story is absolutely outstanding. The stakes are probably the highest feeling that they ever feel in the entire Mission Impossible series. It's got such good urgency. It's a very, very cool movie.
I mean, it's really a testament that Fallout like barely tops this one for me. And Fallout's like one of the best action movies of the decade. It's so good.
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
I gave it a 5 out of 5. It's good stuff, man.
Then on the 23rd as well, we watched Capote.
Weird movie.
Starring, again, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
We'd never seen this one before.
We'd never seen it. Based on the real man, Capote.
But biopics are so strange.
Biopics are so
They're such a weird sect of movies, you know? But this was good.
Philip Seymour Hoffman's performance deserved the Oscar. It is outstanding.
Man. I don't understand how he did this.
Somebody put that they kind of forgot that it was Philip Seymour Hoffman by the end of the movie, and you really do. I was not expecting the voice because I forgot that Capote talked like that, even though, I honestly didn't, I had seen a movie actually with Capote in it.
Yeah.
And I just didn't, I didn't really know that was him.
Yeah.
I never made that connection.
Didn't put that together, yeah.
But it's insane to hear Philip Seymour Hoffman talk like this for so long. He lost a bunch of weight for the movie too. He just becomes a completely different person in this because he is an insanely.
I mean, that's really like one of the biggest highlights of this entire production. I mean, I think the cinematography and editing and direction are all great here as well. Like, you can't praise those enough. It's a really technically sound movie. But I just wish its screenplay was a bit more interesting and changed its stakes up a bit more.
Yeah, it really, unfortunately,
it gets very samey around the middle.
It really loses me in a lot of the middle. It's very dry, and it feels like it's giving you not much, even though Capote is a really interesting character.
It's a very interesting character.
Interesting stuff is happening. I don't know how they ended up making this as, honestly kind of boring in the middle as it is.
It gets very monotonous in the middle.
Which is sad. But still very, very good.
Very solid. I liked it.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, again, insane with this. I gave it a 3.5.
I gave it a 4 out of 5. Good stuff.
Then on the 24th, I watched The Reef.
The
beginning of Shark Week.
I was playing Mario Kart while you were watching The Reef.
Probably a better life choice. It's an indie Australian movie in which they shot real sharks as their sharks.
Nice.
And
that sounds cool.
it does sound cool. But it's just one of those movies. There's nothing aggressively awful about The Reef, but it's one of those movies that just never does anything interesting at all. It's just exactly it's oh no, the ship it's stuck. They're stranded. Oh, I bet there's
it's just
sharks
exactly
in the
what
water.
You'd expect.
Oh, there's sharks. Oh, they gotta the entire movie. 90% of the movie is just them trying to swim back to an island that they can't see, and it's just that. It's just them being like. I mean,
that's not a bad premise inherently, but
none of the characters are solid enough to make it anything interesting. They give almost no time to build or develop any of the characters, so it's not bad. And again, the sharks. Cool. It's really cool because the sharks look amazing because they're real sharks. And the way they shot it on a technical level in order to get the real sharks to work how they did is really neat. Though it is sad though because it's an R-rated shark movie where there's zero gore, which is sad. But they had to do that from the way they were shooting the movie. They couldn't have the shark actually be ripping people apart because they didn't have sharks actually ripping people apart.
Yeah.
Also based on a true story.
Weird. That's weird.
It is weird. But no, it's just so unengaging and uninteresting for what it is. But it's not aggressively bad.
All right.
I gave it 2 stars though, just because I would never turn it on again. I would never want to watch it again.
Fair enough.
Also on the 24th, just yesterday.
Just yesterday, if you can even believe that.
We watched, as we mentioned earlier, the Bob's Burgers movie.
The Bob's Burgers movie.
Again, never seen any of the show, but it was a fun movie.
That yawn was not directed at the movie. It's quite engaging.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, this is like the most aggressively like fun movie I've seen.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just
nothing.
fun.
There's nothing great about it. There's nothing fantastic about it. There's nothing terrible about it. It's fun.
Yeah, no, it's a good time.
John Benjamin is the greatest voice actor of all time.
Of our generation, Micah. He's so good.
Never, like, it feels very similar to regular show's movie. And the fact that it just feels like
it feels like a long,
pretty much just an episode.
Feels like a long episode of a TV show.
It doesn't do anything to justify the fact that it's a movie.
No.
But no, you know, like it's fun.
Fun movie. I liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
I gave it a 3.5.
Nice.
And then we watched Invader ZIM, and that is what we watched.
That's what we watched. That's everything. You now have a complete understanding of how our week was.
You know everything. We didn't do anything else but sit around and watch movies.
It's kind of unhealthy, honestly.
Yeah, we live a terrible lifestyle.
But anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in to the end of the episode, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Hopefully, maybe we'll have watched Nope by then.
I was about to say, fingers crossed that we're going to watch Nope soon.
But yeah, we'll catch you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.